AfterBuzzers, you are our heroes as we talk about Gotham Season 5, Episode 3, Penguin, our hero.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
We're
here.
We're ready. I'm vamping till the next that. We're doing it. Thank you all so much for joining us for AfterBuzz TV's coverage of Gotham Season 5, Episode 3. I'm having a dyslexic moment. Penguin, our hero. I'm your host, Steve Kaufmann. Zach Peter is not with us, but Karla Beltran is.
Yes, I am. Hey, guys. And I'm so excited to talk about tonight's episode. This is definitely, by far, my favorite episode of Season 5. And this is literally the reason why I do Gotham, because I love episodes like these.
Me too. We've been... some in the chat would say overly critical of Gotham. I would say we've held them to their standard.
Yes, I think so too.
The last two episodes, and I feel like they've been building to this episode, which has, I don't know, it definitely worked for me. There's obviously some stuff that you can write off as like, it's Gotham. But I very much enjoyed this episode.
I love this episode. I was like grabbing you. I almost thought we were going to see Bane. I was completely invested in this episode. I was super excited.
So we have to start where they ended, which is the Haven has been destroyed. By who? We don't know.
Oh, I was going to say Jeremiah.
Really?
Yeah.
You think that's soon?
Jeremiah?
Yeah. I don't know. That feels... like anything would be out of left field if it's not Barbara or Penguin, and it couldn't be Penguin, and you're assuming they took down all those gangs.
Yeah.
So, you think it's Jeremiah?
I mean, yeah, I would. Who's left?
Firefly. Freeze,
which they would probably
Scarecrow's still around. I'm just naming people who are still left. There are so many unnamed biker gangs. I'm sure one of them is still in Haven.
It could be Bane.
Could be Bane. I feel like we're going to get I know we're going to get a whole origin story to Bane a little later, like not next week later.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem likely. I guess Jeremiah is the only logical suspect, but they've also built such an apocalyptic Gotham to us that it could be anyone.
Well, not only that, but honestly, I feel like it has to be, like, obviously the bombs were planted in there.
Yes.
Because they weren't just, so it could have been from really anywhere, because any of the refugees could have been like, oh, I'm here to find refuge, and then they went in. Well, clearly that's possibly what they did. Mm-hmm. But who sent them? I think Jeremiah sent them.
Okay. I don't know. I'm split. I'm 50-50 between people retaliating against Penguin, like one of the many biker gangs that essentially Riddler orchestrated this whole ordeal between Penguin and like a dozen biker gangs that I feel, it's not a dozen, but like...
Now that you mentioned that, why haven't we thought about him? How about the Riddler doing it?
There's enough Nigma in the Riddler that I don't think he's that crass to blow up an entire green zone.
Okay.
I think he's more worried about setting tension between Penguin and the rest of Gotham.
Yeah.
So Barbara already wants Penguin dead. At least whoever Nigma messed with. And when I say Nigma, I also mean Riddler. Just because that's easier. I know I mean Riddler when it talks about the orchestrations. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm split between someone acting in revenge against Penguin and Jeremiah and one of his followers. I lean towards someone acting revenge against Penguin.
Why would you think about Penguin when really, like, that's not Penguin's lair? That's the green zone.
But that's where he was.
Yeah, but those bombs had to be planted there before Penguin got there.
Really? No, yeah. I think they were in the green zone long enough to plant bombs. They were in the green zone long enough to take over completely, lock people up, and have some random kid show them where the liquor is. That's enough time to plant bombs. I don't know. I think, and there were 3 gangs joined together to take over that place on behest of Penguin, and I wouldn't be shocked if they rigged it to blow. Yeah. But the second Penguin gave it up, they went, well, let's burn it all down. That would be really neat. The show is not neat. You're probably right, and it's probably Jeremiah. It's probably Jeremiah trying to create anarchy for anarchy's sake.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still split 50-50.
I'm excited to see who did it. It was a mastermind plan. So I don't want to say that I enjoyed it because it that sucks or like everything got blown up, but I enjoyed the fact that like whoever planned it worked out for them.
A little bit. I ultimately enjoy that we spent less than 2 episodes building up the Haven to then blow up the Haven.
Yeah.
But that's kind of fun.
Well, I feel like this episode was very fast paced. This episode was like we get there and Selena is having a nightmare, then she wakes up, then she's flying, then she's kissing Bruce, and now she's going after to kill Jeremiah. And we got all of that in one episode, you guys. 1. Not 2 or 3, but 1.
This is the pace I expect of Gotham. We start also with Penguin and his dog Edward. And Mr. Penn, his name is Mr. Penn.
Mr. Penn.
And they're talking about, he had a whole choir singing his greatness, singing the praises of his greatness. And one of them passed out because they were in the bullet factory making bullets overnight.
Yeah.
Which, spoilers, guys, a literal Chekhov gun from episode 1. A bunch of those bullets either don't work or literally explode. That's a Chekhov's.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's Chekhov's gun. Do not forget that at some point in this season, a gun will explode in someone's hands. Probably Barbara's. But that's a prediction. We'll get there. And he realizes they had to work harder because people were defecting to the Haven, because everyone's defecting to the Haven. And then he blames Jim. And it's, I don't know, I found this logic. I would find this logic from any other character convoluted. But from Penguin, I get it. It's mommy. It's just mommy stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if people don't want to be with you, then they're not going to, you know? Even if you're treating them right.
That's weird.
Even if he was feeding them correctly, because according to him he was, and he did have them in a nice place, but they still weren't happy there.
No. Well, because they're captive. They're not free.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think someone like Penguin would be most beneficial if he didn't have underlings. And I know emotionally he needs underlings. But like, he is powerful and smart enough that he could find out a way where it would just be him and his dog. And no underlings, but no one will mess with him. This is my new web series called Superhero Therapy, where I'm going to, or I guess comic book therapy, where I can talk heroes and villains alike through their psychological issues.
I like that.
There's a pilot presentation. You were unaware, but I do think that would be what I'd tell Penguin is you just need to learn to hang out with your dog and eat food and live your life.
I mean, his dog didn't even want to hang out with him.
Well, that's because the dog, that's interesting because
But then when he called his dog, then he actually went for him.
After he killed all the owners.
After he killed already, he was like, "Oh, just kidding." He's like, "I don't want to die."
But I enjoyed the interaction with Penguin and Gordon, and there are a lot of people who have been saying in the chat and in the comments that Gordon needs to actually kill people, is what the sentiment has been. Whereas in my mind, I honestly think this whole show is going to be him testing his moral compass.
Yeah.
And learning exactly what his true north is and staying at true north. And it's just really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it's a world where he doesn't have to have a moral compass. He really, he runs the green zone and just keeps really, and in that one speech, there was that clunky scene with the dialogue before the fight at the green zone where they were talking about man, this place, you're falling apart. This place could fall apart. Everything's bad. And then it led my mind to all of the places of that is, they're just letting in everybody. Jeremiah's people could come in, Scarecrow's people could come in, those people with the gas masks that we don't know who they are.
Well, yeah, because at this point, everybody's in one place. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's more dangerous.
It's super dangerous. And then I thought, how is everyone gonna just survive under one roof? And then you just see people kind of fight and him do a big monologue where I'm like, yes, because they all hear Jim Gordon every day, and he tells them to be better, and they're going to be better.
And that there is hope.
There's hope when there's no hope.
There is hope.
I mean, there's hope that the Haven and the people in it can become big and powerful enough to fight off the evil at the gate. Mm-hmm. There's no real hope the government's coming to save them anytime soon.
I don't think it's going to be the government who's going to save them anyway.
Who else could save them?
Themselves.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But the best they can do is carve out their own piece of, freedom.
Yeah.
And community, and then hold it with their lives.
Well, honestly, what I personally really enjoyed about this episode the most was the fact that now Penguin doesn't really have anybody. Mm-hmm. So now Penguin is he's becoming an ally of Jim Gordon and the GCPD, which is amazing. Like, I kind of have been waiting for Penguin to be a part of, like, the good side, but still being bad. I like it.
I like it, but it's complicated because they didn't do a good enough job to me to really convince me that, like, no, Penguin has to join this side. Like, when Barbara...
He does.
But when Barbara showed up, I was like, no, you should move and let Barbara kill him. That would really solve a lot of problems.
You know what? I actually thought that in this episode, Penguin was going to kill Barbara.
Well, yes. Well, that's the problem with the time jump in the first episode, that we know...
That Barbara isn't.
We know that Penguin survives, but we don't know if Barbara does. So
I guess I'm just waiting for Barbara to...
So anytime they show down, anytime there's a showdown where you think someone will die, you know it'll be Barbara.
Yeah.
I think that's pardon my pun, they shoot themselves in the foot. Pun jar. Hashtag pun jar. They shoot themselves
Have you actually been putting money in this pun jar?
I'm going to donate all at once to the pun jar.
Okay.
I'm going to Apple F all the transcripts. And just every time I say pun jar, I just kind of go through.
There you go.
And then I'll list them out and make one giant Instagram post of text, because that'll work. And then donate money to a charity. Let me know in the comments what charity you'd like me to donate.
That's one way to do it, for sure.
The probably $200 worth of pun jars I've had in the last 5 years here on the Gotham Aftershow. I saw you were looking at the chat. I didn't know if...
I was just kind of trying to keep up with what everybody was saying. And they're saying that it's called a sanctuary. That it's in the comics.
Yes. Who okay.
And that Gordon has killed people for years. Yes, of course. He's a cop.
Of course. I don't... He keeps a pretty good moral compass here. Let's get into the Selena stuff. So she went from in a bed needing rest to Catwoman. Very quickly.
That was the end of my sentence. Very quickly.
Just immediately, like literally in the bed, and then we pan up and she's Catwoman. It's a real good transition. It moved at the pace we expect from Gotham versus last week where she was suicidal. The week before where she was suicidal.
I mean, today she was kind of suicidal because she did walk in with like Jeremiah, not even knowing where she was going. But I think at this point she's developed the strength that she needed to walk into that room. But that's still a little bit suicidal when they're kind of all playing Russian roulette.
So I was doing the math because I'm silly. The odds of all 6 people dying are 2.6%. Because it's 16% times 6.
Okay.
Because if everyone has a 1 in 6, if everyone has a 1 in 6 chance, that's 16%. That's 16. That's 1 in 6 times 6. That's 2.8, 2.6. About less than 3% chance of everyone dying. There was a lot of weirdness with guns in this scene. Because it fired.
It did.
It fired, but then it fired again. Like, when did Harley Quinn put 2 bullets into the chamber? And I'm calling
that
her Harley...
that was a different gun.
Was it a different gun? Okay.
It was a different gun.
That's where I got confused. Mm-hmm. Also, we're jumping around. Harley Quinn. Pretty official, right?
Yes.
I meant to check IMDb.
We saw the makeup. She says Puddin.
She says Puddin. Like, I meant to check IMDb to be official.
Yeah.
There's a good chance she's not credited as Harley Quinn, but she just said Puddin, y'all.
Yeah, she did. And she has the makeup, and she loves Jerome.
And I like this incarnation a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And I love the fact that it was Echo, that we didn't get a new character, that it's the same person. I think that's probably the best part.
Someone grew to become Harley Quinn, which at least makes sense.
Yeah. And she also had like the paper because she used to work with Jeremiah in the lair, and she was very formal, but she was like badass. Like, I don't know.
It at least works. I like that there's a cult, because they're calling it a church, and I'm like, this is a cult.
Yeah.
The second the initiation involves a gun, it's a cult. I think if I ever write a book on cults, that'll be the one rule. They ask you to shoot someone in the initiation, it's a cult.
There you go.
Regular churches don't do that, but I do think that that they study Jeremiah and all of his entire life and everything he's ever done. And this is actually a really long seed planted from, I believe, season 2, when Jeremiah got his throat slit on television in front of everyone, and it inspired everyone to be a little more anarchic. That's pretty sure that's how you say that word. To be more like an anarchist. Yeah, that word, I think that's the word. But I'm
going to give you the credit and say that's the word.
Pretty sure that's the word. Don't check my math. So that actually makes a lot of sense to me. There's a cult based around Jeremiah.
Yeah, definitely.
Jeremiahism.
I mean, there's always been a cult like forming around the Joker character, because we even saw it with Jerome when people were trying to portray Jerome, and then now they're here and they want to worship Jeremiah because he stands for something bigger.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed how we got answers on where Jeremiah is and what's up without ever seeing him.
I wanted to point out the fact that they portrayed him as like a Christ, how the pictures was there, and he has like candles, like the fact that they actually went the full way to get candles like with his picture printed on them. I was like, that's awesome.
I do like the he is risen. Like, I'm sure this Jeremiah story that we've seen in Gotham can be spinned to be rather biblical.
It can be. And also, actually, I feel like his story could even like be taken off as a separate show where we could see even more of the whole story.
They wouldn't do that unless you
had
100 episodes.
One can dream.
If you could have 100 episodes and guarantee that it'll be on TNT in 5 years.
Okay, there you go.
Then you can do it. If you can't do that, then they're not in. That's all. The folks who make this show, Warner Brothers, really, really, really want 100 episodes.
I only say that only because like the Joker is definitely my favorite villain ever, and I cannot wait for the movie that's coming out in October with Joaquin Phoenix. We'll have to talk about this later.
We're going to talk about that later. We've all been burned by the DC movies.
We have.
That I'm not super gung-ho about anything. About anything I see. Where I was like, I'm gonna wait until it comes out and like 5 critics tell me it's good.
Okay.
So Bruce and Selena kiss. That happened. Well, Selena kissed Bruce.
Selena, yeah.
I saw this as her like controlling him, and I'm reading a bunch of people saying that that's not what it is.
I don't think it was controlling, because if you go back to the beginning of the episode when she's dreaming, there was a connection where she remembers being kissed by Bruce, Jeremiah like shooting her, and like it's like a repeat of like the 3 things that she mainly remembers.
Okay.
So I think that like her being back and her like, I think it was like the reassurance and kind of more of like a like, you're here for me and so am I type of deal.
Okay.
I think maybe that's why.
I think it's because I know she becomes Catwoman, then I'm immediately suspect of like, there's no way there's a happy ending here.
Yeah.
Like, she's gonna go too far, he's gonna have to back away, and then that's gonna be the schism that will lead to them being enemies versus lovers. So I don't know, but I do see the other way, that it's essentially 3 things. It's essentially 2 wrongs and a right in her life, and she corrected one of the wrongs last week by being able to walk again.
Yeah.
The fact that Jeremiah made her unable to walk is the other wrong she has to right, and then she can just live with the right.
I wanted to point out that Nicholas Kelly says that he thinks that Jeremiah went back to Arkham because the character has been known to gather the crazies in the comics. And I actually thought about this. I don't believe that Jeremiah is where they think he is. I think that the church and like where they have people that are supposed to be there for him, they're going there. But I also believe, like Nicholas Kelly, like I do agree with you. I don't think that Jeremiah is actually there.
Oh, you don't think Jeremiah's... I didn't think Jeremiah was at the cult either. But I thought he was elsewhere. And if it wasn't Harley Quinn / Echo, like a character we already knew, part of me thought it would just be a masochist killing people in the name of in the name of Jerome, a man he never met. Because that would actually be super fitting. But I really enjoyed everything there. Do you have anything else on this? I think, well, there was the whole side quest in the posh part of town where she beat up on a really big dude who I'm sure fights in MMA.
With really nice shark teeth. I was like, oh, wow.
It's like really, really good work all around on that dude.
Yes. Well, actually, I thought not only on him, but even like the other people that came around and like they were fighting. I like how we didn't really focus on how Bruce was fighting the other people. It was mainly like a focus of us kind of seeing I forget her name, Selena, kind of become Batcat and just go all the way out and just being like, oh, like, I don't know. It was great to see her put her anger out.
I mean, I guess I was a little worried about Bruce. Because, like, never mind.
No,
he trained with us. I'm backing out. Yeah, I'll back down. I'll back down on that. But, like, I like the idea that the one person who has the means to literally get airlifted out of an anarchic Gotham
Yeah.
is also the most able to walk through the worst part of it. You'd be like, oh, a gang of 4 people? I got this.
Basically.
4 people with machetes being led by an innocent, a chained up innocent who has a bomb attached to him.
That's what
A shrapnel bomb? I'll wait out the shrapnel bomb and then beat everyone up. And then not kill them because that's wrong.
He's like, he sticks to his rule.
I mean, well, yeah.
Always.
We won't find enjoyment from him struggling with to kill or not to kill until he's actually Batman.
Yeah.
And that's a different show.
Yeah, but you said 100 episodes, so here we are.
100 episodes, we're going to get there.
And we are not at 100 episodes, but there are other shows on this awesome network that should be. So, hey AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there's no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be. They're totally optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV Talk.
Cool. I guess I want to talk about it briefly because we got this brief interaction with Harvey and Barbara. And it harkens back to a long-standing question, like a long-standing 5-year relationship between Harvey and Gordon, which I think kind of sort of teases a possible switch from Bullock, which is, do you wish you had never met him? Or what your life could have been if you had never met Jim Gordon? Mm-hmm. And he unequivocally said, I'd be dead 5 times over. But the more I think of it, the more I think, like, he was a semi-dirty, like, Bullock was just a semi-dirty cop.
He was.
In a corrupt land. The Jim Gordon, like, really, I don't know, I think his life would have been normal. Or what Harvey Bullock would have called normal. And I just find it, I find this interaction interesting because it gives Bullock an out if he has one, but then he's probably not going to use it.
I don't think so. I think if anything, Bullock, Jim definitely has brought out the best in him. Mm-hmm. So I think that's how the way that he views it. But it's very interesting how Barbara tries to play that out on him because she's like, why are you here type of deal. But I don't think that we'll see any problems between them now. But it could be something that will arise later, but we'll touch on it and then we'll move on. Mm-hmm.
Fair. I think everything else we have is predictions-wise, so we should just jump right on into the predictions.
Yes.
And now, your AfterBuzz
We got
TV
today.
predictions.
Scarecrow, do we see him again?
No.
All right. When do we see
The rest of the gangs?
Well, like when I'm not talking the gang, like I'm talking the villains we've already seen. Firefly and Mr. Freeze or Freeze, Victor Freeze. Sorry. Yeah. It's Mr. Freeze to us. Do we, like, we're just going to see the aftermath of them fighting over a whole territory, or does someone pitch in to help them over this, like, I guess it's a turf war now?
Okay, see, this is my main concern. My main concern is that at the beginning of the season, we saw, I think the main characters that kind of go out into fighting, who I think we believe is going to either be Bane or is going to be Jeremiah. We don't know what day we're on right now. Did it say?
They said it had been a month in the Green Sun. So this has been a month since last week, and last week would have been about a week from day one, essentially. So we're roughly 40 days into 200 something days that they said. Okay,
well, either they're gonna have to really fast pace it and bring us all the other characters, but from what I'm gathering that the other people are either not here in Gotham, like either they disappear, meaning we get rid of them, or they're playing with the other side, which could be very probable. Which, like, I think that by now, if we've been focusing on other, like, smaller gangs that we never even were introduced to, like, towards the beginning of, like, the show, then I think that I don't know why, but I have a feeling that some of the bad, like Firefly and Victor Freeze, I have a feeling that they would probably go with the bad side and just kind of go towards when they are fighting everybody else.
I think we're building towards a turf war between Barbara and Penguin. Penguin backed by the GCPD, which is kind of unlikely. It's taken us 3 weeks to kind of get to that even being an uneasy alliance. And then Barbara and whoever Barbara can get on her side, so whatever gang is left. I feel like whatever Scarecrow's up to, we're done there. Those gas mask guys, I think, are tied into Bane, so we're not going to see them until we get into Bane. And then that kind of sort of only leaves Victor Freeze, Firefly, whatever territories it was said that they were fighting over a territory. Whenever Bane shows up, and then I have a sneaking suspicion that Hugo Strange has Arkham. Like, that's my sneaking suspicion, because he's still around, he's still alive.
He is still around, and he still is.
They've gone out of their way or they didn't go out of their way to say that he left Gotham, because if you couldn't get BD Wong back, you would say pretty early on, like, Arkham. We did an exploratory committee in Arkham, and no one was there. No one was there. We can't find Strange, but I hear he got out. Or like someone on the radio would say he got out. So I think we're gonna see Strange
come back.
And that leaves the possibility for Hugo Strange and an army of crazies.
That'd be awesome.
Kind of unnamed crazies, some of like your C or D level Batman villains that come out of Arkham, because Arkham's kind of that revolving door. The gas mask people. I'm trying to think who else is left in Gotham and where they'd side on a turf war if we're getting a turf war. Or are we just getting a detective episode next week of trying to figure out who blew up the Haven and why?
I don't think that the whole episode is going to be about figuring out who blew up Haven. I think if anything in the beginning, they're going to be like, okay, who did this? Clearly somebody's declaring war. Because I feel like if anything, this is a declaration of war. Like when you go in and blow up something, that's declaring war up on
this is a refugee camp.
Yeah.
Because hypothetically, Gotham is already at war. And they're going out of their way to destroy a refugee camp, and you have to have a reason to do that.
Exactly. So I think like the episode is not actually going to focus on that. If anything, I think they're going to focus on the fighting. I think there's going to be a lot of fighting next week. I don't know if it's going to be between Barbara and Penguin, or Penguin and Gordon against everybody else, but it should be very interesting. I do hope that they bring Nigma, Riddler, all of the above, next week, because we didn't see him this week, and I actually want to keep seeing his progress. I don't want him to be like left behind and then he comes back and he's like normal.
Riddler 100% sides with Barbara. It's the question of what would Nigma do during the day.
True.
Because he would, like, Riddler at night.
What does Nigma do during the day?
He wakes up and tries to figure out what Riddler did. I think he spends most of the day in a memento loop where he spends his waking hours trying to figure out what the Riddler did. Like, man, he killed a bunch of people. God, and then wrote Penguin's name on the wall and then started a gang war.
I'm still trying to figure out what he's doing.
Like, I think whatever he did is responsible for Haven blowing up. I think Riddler is going to side with Barbara against this turf war with Penguin, and then that's going to... I think whatever that turf war is going to culminate in Bane, Jeremiah, or both revealing themselves. That's what it feels like.
Where do you think we'll get Bane?
It's in the episode titles. Like, one of the episode titles is called I Am Bane. I have the phone off currently.
Don't tell me that.
Sorry. Like, but that doesn't mean Bane won't show up next week and then you don't get his backstory until later.
Backstory.
I think it's going to be...
Well, we won't get him next week. If we get anybody next week, it'll probably be Jeremiah.
Probably, but I like the idea that he's not there yet. That we don't see him for a while.
I do like him being incognito.
That we just confirm that he's there and that Echo is messing with people. And that, like, I don't know, and then he has a legion of
Do you think we'll see Echo again next week?
I hope so.
I hope so.
I hope she acts for him, because I don't know, I think I
have a feeling that Selena's gonna kill Echo. I feel like we're gonna see Echo go really quickly.
Ooh, unless they intend Harley Quinn to be a mantle.
Unless, but I don't know. I just feel like
that would be, I don't know, that would be kind of frustrating.
That would be frustrating.
But they're still there. They're still fighting her. So you're right. I don't quite see it that way. I really enjoyed that fight scene. Do you have any predictions of live before we head on out of here?
I do not.
Wonderful. Yeah, we were talking about Bane a little. Shane West has been confirmed to play Bane.
Yes. He is playing.
I believe there was a logline that has already leaked that said he was...
Ooh, this is a good prediction.
Oh, please.
Sorry.
There was a logline that said he was a war buddy of Jim Gordon's. Mm-hmm. So that at least gives us a basis of where he is and where he came from. But please.
Okay, so we got a couple questions and a prediction. So the first one is by Ivan Soto. He was telling us that Bane's army will come to help Gordon, but he'll obviously become evil. But for a while, the army that will help will be Bane's army.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. And then Nicholas Kelly is saying that Jeremiah is railing the crazies at the asylum, those being the Mad Hatter, which we forgot about the Mad Hatter.
Jarvis is still around.
Actually would love to see him come back. Scarecrow, and make a sort of a deal with Firefly for total anarchy in Gotham.
Okay.
I like that.
I like that a lot. That makes a bit more sense than what we've been. Because I keep trying to make order and peace of it all.
Yeah.
And that's not what Jeremiah would do. If Jeremiah gets the kind of influence we know he'll get, it'll just be anarchy. But I do think we know that the Green Zone, the Haven, the Sanctuary becomes something that can take a siege and is really, really under siege by day 239. And I think that's what we can take away from where we're headed moving forward. If the people want to talk to you about their predictions, where can they find you on the Twitter?
Well, you guys, first of all, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was my first time actually doing the chat for Gotham, so it was super exciting to see all your guys' comments. I wish I could read all of them, but I'm going to shout out the Queen of Regal for saying that we are an awesome panel. Thank you so much. We will be back next week. I'm your host, Karla Beltran. You can follow me on Instagram at @IamKarlaBeltran, or you can tweet at me at Karla Beltran with an R at the end.
And I'm Steve Kaufmann. You can find me on Twitter almost exclusively at Steve Kaufmann. That is Kaufmann. I'm involved in many pro wrestlers' YouTube pages, so if I tweet the link, odds are very likely I'm involved, so support them, support me. It'll all be fun. For Karla Beltran, I'm Steve Kaufmann. Thank you, Gothamites, and we'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.